Shalom, shalom to those who are online and to the house. Everybody that's in the house. Sorry about the delay. Trying to turn the phones down. There we go. There we go. All right. So we're gonna get into the topic is for tonight. Get this out of here real quick. Do a little housekeeping. Uh-oh. I done did something. There, here. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that. So the title is the Gentiles, who Paul was preaching to, you know, and it's a little story behind this kind of, why I came up with this topic. I know that a lot of people, a lot of Christians, claim to be Gentiles. And I just had a conversation with a young man, just started the job, and somehow or another he found out, he make it known that he's a Christian, put it that way. And so a couple of guys on the job said, well, we know a guy that knows about the Bible as well. So they kind of referred him over to me. So me and him went in, just talking a little bit, just trying to fill each other out. But one thing they told me, they said, well, he's an Israelite. So he didn't know what that was. So then he said that, well, I'm a Gentile. So I said, okay, Gentile, right? So I asked him, what was a Gentile? So we had the conversation, went into it. So it kind of sparked in my mind that how, even though this is an old lesson, but how many, I would say, people and Israelites are still in the mind frame that they're Gentiles. And they also get confused about Paul's writing and who Paul was actually going out to talk to and to preach to and to gather. So there's one thing we got to keep in mind is that our people had been scattered, all throughout the Middle East area. And with that, they also built temples, just like they have now. If you look at the Muslim community, even though that they're in different countries, they always set up them a temple where they can go and they worship and they pray. Well, it was the same thing with the Israelites. Everywhere we went, there was a temple where our people would go and actually uphold the Sabbath day. So it's the same concept. So when Paul went out to actually preach and talk to our people that were scattered abroad, what happened was, he would go to the synagogues first. And then those that were Israelites who wasn't accepted in the synagogue because they was considered as heathens or Gentiles because they was born in that particular land, just like us. As a matter of fact, if you look at the state of Israel today in America, we will be considered Gentiles, right? Because we were born here and we're not upholding the faith and the traditions of our Israelite brothers that would have been over in Jerusalem at that time. Okay. But there's a Hellenist period also that we had to go through as well. So I'm going to read the definition of Hellenist in the Bible dictionary. Yeah, well, Marsha's going to read it. There you go.
Hellenists,
right?
Jews who made Greek their tongue.
Right there. So it says Jews who made Greek their tongues. So once again, I want to reflect back to us here in America because we're a Hellenist people as well. The same thing they went through. Now, they made Greek their tongue. Now, even though we were brought over here on slave ships, but we were forced, but still they made us they made us learn their English language, put it that way. Okay. The same way they did in the Greek during the time of Paul time. And that goes for wherever they were at, wherever they were scattered. So always remember the Hellenist situation that happened to all of us. And that happened even to us right now today, because we're in a Hellenist state. So read it from the top.
Hellenists, Jews who made Greek their tongue, and with it often adopt Greek ideas and practices.
Right. Greek ideas and practices. If you could just say Hellenists, Jews, which is Israelites, who made English their tongue, right? In America, the US, that adopt their customs and their what? Their customs and what else is it?
Greek ideas and
Ideas
practice.
and the ideas and practices. Look at football. Look at baseball. You know, all our people are involved in it, but these are the practices that goes on here in America. So always think of Hellenists when you think about Gentiles, okay? Always. Let's go to Genesis real quick. Let's get Genesis chapter 10. Make sure I'm sharing my screen. Okay, I think a minute. Let's go to Genesis chapter 10 and read verse 5.
Genesis chapter 10 and verse 5. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands.
Okay, so now it says, by these are the isles of the Gentiles divided in their land. So now, in the time of Genesis now, the Most High has already labeled Gentiles. So we know that Gentiles also mean other nations, other people. Okay, go ahead.
Everyone after his tongue.
Everyone after his tongue, go ahead.
After their families and their nations.
And their nations. So we already know that the Greeks, right, as well as the Romans, as well as the Assyrians, all of those that had their land and their regions and their people and their tongues and their families. Now, once we were scattered, then that's when we start taking upon the customs of these people. And the reason I'm going into this, because one thing that my Christian brothers don't understand is they have to go back and read history. You have to go back to the history and find out how these things came about and how we got into the situation that we're in now. All right. Let's go to Ezekiel. I'm sorry, Zechariah. Zechariah chapter 7. Zechariah chapter 7 and verse 14.
Zechariah chapter 7 and verse 14.
Let me get it real quick. Okay, go ahead.
And it reads, but I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations.
Right. So now this is the Most High telling you how this Hellenist actually happened, because he said he scattered us as a whirlwind, go ahead, among the nations. So now, once again, once our people were scattered, then the Sadducees and the Pharisees, they had set up a temple where our people can actually go and rehearse and practice the laws and the Sabbath day. Now, as time went on, I'm just putting a little vision. As time went on, you had children that maybe have said, well, I'm not going to follow those Jewish traditions anymore. I'm going to follow the Americans' way, which is what we're doing now today. You know, you got Thanksgiving coming up. Then they got Christmas. Then you got all of these folly days that they have left. Let's say, give an example, they have left the traditions of the Israelites and the Bible and the commandments and start following the custom and the ways of these other nations, these Gentile nations. Okay. Once again, as Christians call themselves Gentiles because they don't see themselves as the original people. They don't see themselves as the Israelites that are spoken of in the Bible. So it's very, very key. And that's one thing too, is two things that actually the Most High blessed me with. Two things the Most High actually blessed me with, and that was when once he gave me the understanding. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, but one thing he gave me the understanding, coming into this truth and understanding who I am or who my people was, is that number one, it was that white image of Christ, right? So once I got past that and found out Christ wasn't a so-called white man, I was really intrigued and wanted to know more. Then one of the second things that gave me my foundation, right? Because we build the foundations of the faith of understanding that you are Israelite. So the second foundation, I'm just saying for me, was understanding these Gentiles, because the Roman Catholic Church and their teachings, they did a good job. You know, they did a hell of a job taking Paul's writings and involving the whole world, making it seem that Paul went on not only to the Jews, but also to the other nations that he was preaching as well. Now, let's say he did. Let's say that as he was preaching and giving the word and giving the gospel, the true gospel, right, which the the Jews, our brothers that was in the synagogues, the Jews, let's say, I keep saying Jew, but I'm gonna say Jewish, that was in the synagogue, if they didn't accept it, then guess what they did? Then other people start coming around as well, along with the Israelites, like brothers that go out and deal on the streets, right? So we out there to capture our people. But then as we also catching their attention, then you have other people around that comes around and hear what has to be said as well. And that happens a lot. Matter of fact, you have the other nations pay more attention to what is being said than our people. Okay, just keep that in mind because it happens all the time. When you're out there watching the videos, you will always see some other heathens, around, whether they white folks or Chinese or anything like that. They're more curious than our people are. So that's what was going on when Paul was actually delivering the message and preaching. But guess what? But he still was focused on our people, the ones that needed to come back to the faith and to the law, statutes, and the commandments. Okay, was that all right?
No.
Keep reading.
But I scattered them with a whirlwind among all the nations,
okay,
whom they knew not. Thus the land was desolate after them, that no man passed through nor returned. For they laid the pleasant land desolate.
Okay, so they laid the pleasant land desolate. So, like he said, once he scattered us, we was where we needed to be, where the Most High wanted us to be. Then from there, then Paul started his mission because the other disciples that walked with Christ, they all stayed in Jerusalem. But Paul was chosen for this mission. Okay, get Ezekiel. Get the book of Ezekiel, chapter 12 and verse 15. More about the scattering. Okay, Ezekiel chapter 12 and get 15. Okay, go ahead.
Ezekiel chapter 12 and verse 15. And they shall know that I am the Lord. I am the Lord. When I shall scatter them among the nations and disperse them in the countries.
And disperse them within countries. That's the reason why when you start, like I said, when you start going into the history and understanding how our people got where they was at, well, the Most High prophesied that he will scatter his people amongst these other nations and amongst these other people. So once the Roman Catholic Church came out with their doctrine and they read the writings of Paul, it was very easy for them to implement all these other people. Okay, but we're going to find out, through precepts how the Most High have put other precepts in there to connect to say that he will never leave his people. Okay, let's get Acts. Let's get the book of Acts chapter 6 and verse 1. Acts 6 and 1.
Acts chapter 6 and verse 1.
Okay. More understanding about how when our people were scattered in Greece and Grecians. Go ahead.
And in those days, when the number of the disciples was multiplied, there arose a murmur of the Grecians amongst the Hebrews.
All right. See, amongst the Hebrews. So once again, like I said, the Roman Catholic Church come in and say, bam, see, you got the Hebrews, then we got the Grecians. And then they know that the Grecians were what? The so-called Edomites or the white folks that was there, right? But remember, those are other Israelites that were scattered. Go ahead.
Because their widows were neglected in the daily ministration.
Right. So now, if you think about it, as strict was the Pharisees and the Sadducees, right? As strict as they were, why would they be concerned about the Grecians' widows? That's another clue that you got to pick up on. Why would they be concerned about them? And then it says neglected in the daily ministrations. Why? Because they recognized who they were. They were not of the Grecian nation, but they was Israelites born there and accepted the Grecian and the Greek ways. But as you can see also, even when he said the Grecians and their widows, they must have been continuing to go to the synagogues and to try to keep the commandments. But once again, Pharisees and Sadducees had their way. If you wasn't, born in Jerusalem, then, and you an outcast. And we're going to find that out in a few other precepts. Okay. Was that all that? Stay in Acts and get Acts chapter 9. Get Acts chapter 9, and let me get 27. Acts chapter 9 and verse 27.
Acts chapter 9 and verse 27. But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles and declared unto them how he had seen the Lord in the way.
Now, I had jumped forward a little bit, but this is Paul. So Paul, once he was on his way to Damascus, I believe, and he lost his sight, right? And then he regained his sight. Then he became a quote unquote the original Christians, one meaning that one who followed Christ, right? But before that, Paul was a Pharisee that was actually persecuting our people and bringing them into prison, all right, and actually really killing them, you know. So he couldn't be trusted, right? But the Most High dealt with him, gave him the understanding, right? And Barnabas was one of his side partners that was when he actually converted and started following the ways of Christ. So Barnabas had to go for it, and what they call it when you you put yourself out there for your boy, cosign. He had the cosign for Paul, and he had this is where we at now. So he had the cosign for Paul to bring them forth, because they were like, no, this Paul, no, we don't want nothing to do with this brother. And I can see that. But what Paul's history was before he was converted, you know, somebody had to co-sign for him. So Barnabas was co-signing for him at this point. Read on, started from the top.
But Barnabas took him and brought him to the apostles and declared unto them how he had seen the Lord in the way, and that he had spoken to him, and how he had preached boldly at Damascus in the name of Yahushua.
Go ahead.
And he was with them coming in and going out at Jerusalem. And he spake boldly in the name of the Lord Yahushua, and disputed amongst the Grecians, but they were about to slay him.
Right. So Paul was running into all kinds of trouble, as he should, because of his background. Go ahead.
Which when the brethren knew, that brought him down to Caesarea, and sent him forth to Tarsus.
Read on.
But then had the churches rest throughout all Judea and Galilee and Samaria, and were edified and walking in the fear of the Lord, and in the comfort of the Holy Ghost were multiplied.
See, we're multiplied. So now Barnabas co-signed for him. I just wanted to bring that out because Barnabas had co-signed for him. Because like I said, Paul had a reputation of just destroying Israelites, Christians. When I say Israelite Christians, those who followed Christ, okay, destroyed them. So Barnabas had to do, let's go to St. John chapter 7. St. John chapter 7, and pick it up at verse 33.
John chapter 7 and verse 33. Then said Yahushua unto them, Yet a little while am I with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me and shall not find me.
Right. So Christ is telling you shall seek me, but you shall not find me. So now I'm going to jump back and forth because I'm going to go back to Paul, but I want to go back to show more of the disperse of where Israel was actually scattered at. And this is what Christ was saying. Christ says, so now I go to a place there you cannot come, right? Verse 35.
Verse 35.
Read 34 again. I'm sorry.
Ye shall seek me and shall not find me. And where I am, thither ye cannot come.
Okay, so now Christ is telling them, go ahead.
Then said the Jews among themselves.
So now, here are the Jews in Jerusalem. Then they said amongst themselves, because they're going to say something that's profound that they knew of. That's the key. They knew of this. So when Paul went on his journeys, they knew where Paul was going, because Paul was very learned. He was a very learned Pharisee, right? So he knew better to go to another nation and try to preach the gospel to him. He knew better. So now Christ is saying, okay, whether I go, you cannot come. And then the Jews said amongst themselves, read on.
Whither will he go? That he should not be found. Shall not find him. Will he go amongst the dispersed among the Gentiles?
Now, that's the key. Of anything that you understand about Gentiles that's in the Christianity doctrine, is understanding this. It says, will he go to the dispersed? So they knew even when Christ walked this earth that there was other Israelites scattered. That's the reason why I went to the Hellenists. And I was advised to look up the other definitions that give you the understanding about what a Hellenist Israelite is. Okay. So he said, would he go amongst the dispersed? Go ahead.
Disperse among the Gentiles
That's another key right there. Go ahead.
and teach the Gentiles.
And teach the Gentiles. Now, why would they even say something like that? Because they knew our people was in a Gentile state of mind, meaning that they conducted themselves under the customs of these other nations, as we are today. Next week, watch, all our people gonna be in grocery stores buying all of this stuff here, cooking and doing. They don't even have no idea about what quote unquote they Thanksgiving is about. All they say is, oh, it's about gathering together with the family, you know, and coming together, you know, harmonious and having a meal together. They don't even know what Thanksgiving is about. Because if they did, maybe some of them would say, no, I can't do that, knowing that it was the destruction of our Native American brothers, which are part of the 12 tribes. See, that right there, that lets you know that they're in that Gentile state of mind. So as we go on, we're going to understand Paul, where he went and who he was preaching to. Now, and who his focus was. It was not the other nation. The other nation didn't give a damn about us. The other nations hated us just like they hate us here in America right now today. Even though we are as I say, Rasha, the salt of the land. We bring sports, we bring music, we bring everything to every country that had us in captivity. We brought they may have had their music, but we took it to another level in every country that we were scattered in. So that's when they said, would he go amongst the Gentile and teach the Gentiles? And they talking about Christ. They're not talking about Paul. Okay. Get the precept. Go ahead. What you need? Apocrypha. Yeah. See, that's Christ. They said, will he go? That's what they said. Would he go to the dispersed? Tobit 3. 13. Read that.
Tobit chapter 13 verse 1. Then Tobit wrote a prayer of rejoicing and said, blessed be God that liveth forever, and blessed be his kingdom. For he doth scourge and have mercy. He leadeth down to hell and bringeth up again. Neither is there any that can avoid his hand.
So the Most High is putting out his power. Tobit know that. He said, look, nobody can get anything out of the Most High hands. Because once he made things and once he sealed things that's in the book of Genesis, he said when he rested, he rested. That's it. There's no need to put anything further into what his creation was for and his people. Go ahead.
Confess him before the Gentiles.
See, confessed him before the Gentiles.
Ye children of Israel.
Now, here we go. The children of Israel are being called Gentiles once again. So the scripture said, confess them before the Gentiles. Go ahead.
Ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them.
There we go. Good precept, because he has scattered us amongst them. So Israelites were called Gentiles. I understand that as well as the other nations, but the Most High even made it clear on certain scriptures when he called them heathens. Because why? Because they were not in the mind frame of the commandments. So Israel was called Gentiles. Israel was called heathens. Some other, I'm quite sure there was other names. I can't think of them right now, but this is the format that Christianity has taken and made a dogma and I can't even think of what they did, but not really a stigma, a doctrine, that which had made a doctrine that will accept the whole world. But there's clear scriptures that actually points out who and what Christ was talking about and who Paul was actually preaching to. So it says, read 3 again. Shut it down that quick?
Because you can move fast.
No.
Let me get it going.
Here.
Where is yours?
Yeah.
Tobit.
Because that's profound right there. Go ahead. 3.
Tobit chapter 13 and verse 3. Confess him before the Gentiles, ye children of Israel, for he hath scattered us among them.
See, well, he has scattered us among them. All right. So we put that in your arsenal, right? And meditate upon that because it's needed. It's needed because you have to set a certain foundation to your belief. You have to. Now, I wanted to go on something that was pertinent to what's happening right now upon the earth, about the wars, about famines, about certain things like that. This is the calm before the storm. So once the storm actually hits, whatever it may be, and we start seeing thousands and thousands of people dropping dead, we have to also think, if we still alive, whatever wave that's coming this way, whether it be financially, whether it be the war, whether it be a plague, any of those things, once the people have been wiped out, a certain amount of thousands of people been wiped out, those who are going to survive, they're going to be looking for answers. Not only are they going to be looking for answers, but they are going to be looking for leaders. They're going to be looking to be guided. They're going to be looking for the truth. And there's one movie that I love, and it's called I think it's The Fog. And, you know, these people were trapped into a fog came, got monsters out there, but they was trapped into this grocery store. So it was one I call them holy rollers, one holy roller, white Edomite lady, right? And she was preaching about this is the end of the world. And, you know, she go into her Christian dogma and start preaching about this, that, and the other. And everybody they went straight to her and started supporting her. Right? They start supporting what she was saying. But that's what I'm saying. You got false prophets that's going to jump up and going to start pushing their doctrine. And you got to have a foundation. You got to have a solid foundation of who you are, who your people are, and what you actually worshiping and what you about. And that only comes through the commandments of the Most High God, which he left us his Bible, right? And then knowing knowing yourself and knowing your people. Because once the stuff hit the fan, people are going to navigate to their own race of people. They definitely going to do that because they feel comfortable. Look at all the wars that happen in throughout the world and after the aftermath, right? People start to going to whomever they felt comfortable with, right? But then you're going to have some wild people that's going to come out with all kinds of doctrines. You're going to have the 5%ers. You're going to have the Muslims. You're going to have the Christians. You're going to have, you know, all of them. All of them. You're going to have the Holy Rollers, which is the Baptists and the Seventh-day Adventists. All of them going to start to come out. And everybody's going to be scared because they see all these thousands of bodies dead. I mean, people dead, but they still alive. So they're going to start to migrate to whatever they feel comfortable with. So the point I'm trying to make is that understanding certain doctrines that's out there and confounding those doctrines and understanding that where you stand at in this truth and in this nation of Israel is going to be, you got to have it solid. You have to have it solid. You can't let nobody come along and say, no, we're the Gentiles and shake your foundation. That cannot be. So that's one of the things why I wanted to point out, like certain things that's out there, like this doctrine of the Gentiles. Okay. We was in James.
Tobit.
But we love Tobit. Let's go. We'll be in James. We're James. So I'm sorry, St. John chapter 7 and verse 33. St. John 7 and verse 33. Go ahead. We're gonna read that again.
John chapter 7 and verse 33. And said Yahushua unto them, yet a little while I am with you, and then I go unto him that sent me. Ye shall seek me, and shall not find me. And where I am, thither ye cannot come.
Read on.
Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go, that we shall not find him? Will he go into the disperse among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles?
Uh-huh.
What manner of saying is this that he said, ye shall seek me and shall not find me,
Mm-hmm.
and where I am, thither ye cannot come.
Right. So Christ was just throwing down the parables to them. And they was puzzled. They was like, what do you mean? But at this point in time, he was talking about going to his heavenly Father and being resurrected. Right? Now, but the key thing was he said, will he go to the dispersed and teach them? Stay in St. John and get chapter 10 in verse 16. St. John chapter 10 and read verse 16. More about the dispersed and how they knew that Israel was scattered amongst the heathens. Go ahead.
John chapter 10 and verse 16. And other sheep I have.
And other what?
And other sheep I have.
Now this is Christ talking. Go ahead.
Which are not of this fold.
Mm-hmm.
Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice. And there shall be one fold.
There should be one fold.
And one shepherd.
Mm-hmm. And one shepherd, meaning him. But he said, others sheep I have. So even Christ knew that there was a dispersed among Israel. Okay. Let's go to St. James. I'm sorry, James 1 and 1. Let's go to James 1 and 1. So Christ even though he was walking this earth, he said, there's other sheep of my fold that they must hear my voice as well. Go ahead.
James chapter 1 and verse 1. James, a servant of God and of the Lord, Hamashiach Yahushua,
Mm-hmm.
to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad.
See, the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. So here we are again, scattering, dispersed, Israelites being in other regions of the world, and Israelites that needed to have the preaching and the teaching of what Christ had gave. Now, like I said, the 12 apostles, they were at home base. They were at home base, okay? Was that on that? 12? Yeah. Read that again for me again.
James, a servant of God
Mm-hmm.
and of the Lord, Hamashiach Yahushua, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad.
Which are scattered abroad. Exactly. Let's go to Philippians. Let's go to the book of Philippians. You know, one thing, like I said, I'm pointing out that they knew that other Israelites was other places, as we are today. Now, we know that our land is being occupied right now by these damn heathens, but, you know, when the Most High cleans it up, and that's happening right now. Most High is going through that place, man, you wouldn't believe. You know, wouldn't believe how they bombing the hell out of that place. Well, actually, we do believe because we see it on TV. Put it that way. Yes, we do. Okay. Start at 1. Philippians chapter, Philippians chapter 3, verse 1. 3 and 1. 1 down to 6.
Philippians chapter 3 and verse 1. Finally, my brethren, rejoice in the Lord. To write the same things to you, to me indeed is not grievous, but for you it is safe. Beware of dogs, beware of evil workers, beware of the confusion. Concision.
Right. Now, Paul is telling them, beware. Okay, watch out. Go ahead.
For we are circumcision, which worship God in the spirit and rejoice in Hamashiach Yahushua and have no confidence in the flesh.
Read on.
Though I might also have confidence in the flesh, if any other man thinketh that he have whereof he might trust in the flesh, I more.
So he said, I more. So now, remember, they had a big discussion, a big hoo-ha about the Gentiles, meaning the Israelites, being circumcised. But we're going to continue on with this. But he said, I more that have more confidence within the flesh. Okay, read on.
Circumcised the 8th day.
Now, Paul is telling them about himself. That's what I wanted to go into. I wanted to go into a little bit of what Paul was actually, how Paul was amongst the Israelites, right? And he's going to break down how if anybody have any confidence in the flesh, let it be me. And then he says, circumcised the first day. Read on.
of the stock of Israel, of the tribe of Benjamin,
Mm-hmm.
and Hebrews of the Hebrews.
So they knew who they were. That's one thing also that we have to keep in mind too, is that during this time, we knew who we were. We're not like now. We don't know nothing. We had to come into the understanding of who we are. But back then, everybody just about knew where they stood as far as nationality. They know the other nations, just like Paul bringing out, he know his tribe. Now, do we know our tribe? No, we don't know our tribe. By us being scattered, we don't know our tribes, period. But Paul knew his tribe. And that's why he says circumcise the eighth day. So that lets you know also that he knew the law about circumcision, that amongst the Israelites, that we circumcise our males on the eighth day. Go ahead.
As touching the law, a Pharisee,
Mm-hmm.
concerning zeal, persecuting the church, touching the righteousness which is in the law.
So he's confessing as well. He's also telling you who he is, what his nationality is, as well as going and said he's persecuted the church. Okay. So Paul was actually just telling them, hey, look, this is who I am. Okay. This is who I am. And let's get some more of Paul confessing who he is. Let's go into the book of Acts. Acts chapter 21. Let me see, I got that. Yeah, 21 and started at verse 28. Acts 21 and start at verse 28.
Acts 21 and verse 28.
More of Paul confessing who he is. I wish I knew which tribe I was from. I really do. Because then, there's certain characteristics of each tribe. So we have to figure it out through the spirit. But when you actually know, then it gives you more of a foundation of where your spirit is and how your spirit, reacts to certain things. You got Issachar, you got Zebulon, you got Naphtali, you got Levi. All of them had a role, and with their spirit, that's the reason Jacob had named them, right? And then gave certain kind of characteristics of their spirit, so they can carry out the mission that the Most High actually made the 12 tribes for, which we're going back. We're going back. I know there's a lot of brothers that wish they knew which tribe they was from. Okay. What we at? Acts 21 and verse what? 28. Go ahead. Read 28 all the way down to 29. I mean to 39.
Crying out, men of Israel, help. This is the man that teacheth all men everywhere against the people in the law in this place.
Mm-hmm.
And further brought Greeks also into the temple.
So they calling out Paul right here. They calling him out men. So he said, crying, men of Israel. So now he's talking to the Israelites. So now, like you said, Paul's getting blasted once again. Go ahead.
And have polluted this holy place. For they had seen before with him in the city of
Trophimus.
I
can't pronounce it either.
Trophimus at Ephesians, whom they supposed that Paul had brought into the temple, and all the city was moved, and the people ran together, and they took Paul.
See, that's one thing too. Israel ain't no joke, man. Israel always quick to grab somebody and stone somebody. And that's one reason the Most High had the laws there, because it was like, nah, unless there be 2 or 3 more witnesses, you can't put that person to death on word of mouth. You have to have witnesses. But Israel, when it came down to it, man, especially when it came down to us in the temple, right? They said, well, he brought some Grecians up in here, So even though that Grecian that they're talking about is an Israelite, but remember, in different regions, they dress differently as well. So this person, I'm just assuming this person here that they claiming that is a Grecian that Paul brought into the temple, he may have been dressed in a different way, to the point where they say, no, you can point out certain people. You can point out certain people that dress from, let's say, Florida, from Chicago, just a different style that they have. So I'm just assuming, but, we're going to continue to read. Go ahead. Where we at?
And drew him out of the temple. And forthwith the doors were shut. And as they went about to kill him, tidings came unto the chief captain of the band,
Mm-hmm.
that all Jerusalem was in a uproar, who immediately took soldiers and centurions and ran down unto them. And when they saw the chief captain and the soldiers, they left beating of Paul.
Mm-hmm. So they was kicking Paul butt right here. Go ahead.
Then the chief captain came near and took him.
Now check this out, because I'm gonna show a couple of images. So they said they was whooping Paul butt, so the chief captain came and got Paul from him. Go ahead.
And commanded him to be bound with 2 chains,
Mm-hmm.
and demanded whom he was and what he had done.
Okay, read on.
And some cried one thing, some another, among the multitude. And when he could not know the certainty for the turmoil,
Mm-hmm.
he commanded him to be carried into the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And when he came upon the stairs, so it was that he was born of the soldiers for the violence of the people.
Right. So it said, but for the violence of the people. Go ahead.
For the multitude of the people followed after, crying after with him.
Same thing they did
Away
to
with
Christ. Same thing they did with Christ. You know, when it was time for Christ to, give up his life, that's what happened. They beat him. The multitude came and they started convicting Christ. Paul had to go through this as well. Go ahead, read on.
And as Paul was to be led into the castle,
Mm-hmm.
he said unto the chief captain.
Now, right there, we're going to go into something that I want to just kind of bring out. When he said he was led into the castle, right? So now, real quick, I'm going to show some images of Paul right now, right? Now, this is why the Most High said, thou shalt make no graven images, because now they got all of this here. Now, remember now, the Christian doctrine dealing with Gentiles, saying that the world is Gentiles, right? And those that's in the land right now, those are the original people. Those are Amalekites. Those are the original people. Those are God's people. And then if you look at Christ himself, they got him posed as what? A so-called white man. You look at all the apostles. Look at this. Here's Paul, so-called white man. They got his images in there. He got some features of Middle Eastern, but still in all, we're going to find out through the scriptures a more fair description of Paul. All right. Continue on. Hold on 1 minute. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 38. Verse 37. And as Paul was led into the castle,
Okay.
he said unto the chief captain, May I speak unto thee? Who said, Canst thou speak Greek?
So now Paul spoke Greek. Remember, he spoke many languages. Go ahead.
Are not thy that Egyptian?
Key point. So he's describing Paul. Aren't you not that Egyptian? Now we know the Egyptians were dark-skinned people, very dark-skinned people. So when they start putting up images like this, right? Oh man, I lost it. That's okay. That's okay. But when they start putting up images of Paul being a so-called white man or having features like a white man, we got to understand, what did the scripture say? It said, are you that Egyptian? Not the Egyptians of today, but the Egyptians during their time, which was very dark-skinned people. So now that's something also to pick up on about our people being scattered, because once a dark-skinned people start going into other regions and start mating with these other heathens and these other nations, then the things, just like America, we just start getting lighter. But Paul right here is one of the key things I want to point out. They described him as an Egyptian. Verse 38 started from the top.
Are not thou that Egyptian, which before these days made us an uproar and lead us out into the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers?
See, now here we go. Somebody had led him out, right? And like I said, they described him as an Egyptian that did this thing here, led people out and got them murdered. Read on.
But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, a citizen of no mean city. And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people.
See, suffer me to speak to the people. And then Paul went on and started to speak. Read on.
And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with a hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence.
Now people were silent now because after they didn't beat him up, now they gave him license to stand up and talk to the people. They were like, what's going on here? Read on.
He spake unto them in a Hebrew tongue.
Now, why would he be speaking to the Greeks in the Hebrew tongue? Once again, another key point that we got to bring out, because there were Hebrews that was there amongst these Grecians. Hebrews that was there. That's why the captain said, can you speak Greek? So there was Israelites there that number one spoke Greek, and also they spoke Hebrew, because Paul stood up after they didn't beat him. He stood up and started talking to them in the Hebrew tongue. Once again, to prove that when they said that where's Christ is going to go? Is he going to go to the dispersed to teach the Gentiles? We got to keep all of these things in perspective. All of Paul's journeys was to go and talk to the children of Israel that were scattered abroad. That's who Paul went to. That's where his letters went to. When he wrote the letters went to where? It went to all of the synagogues where the Israelites were. We have to keep that in mind and keep that as your foundation, okay? Stay in Acts and get verse 22. Get Acts 22 and read 22, 1 through 3.
Acts chapter 22 and verse 1.
Give me 1 minute. Go ahead.
Men, brethren, and fathers, hear ye my defense, which I make now unto you. And when they heard that he spake in the Hebrew tongue to them, they kept the more silence.
They kept the more silent. Read on.
And he said, I am verily a man which am a Jew.
Study, calling out what his nationality was. Go ahead.
Born in Tarsus, a city in Cilicia, yet brought up in the city at the feet of Gamaliel.
Right. Now, Gamaliel was a Pharisee. He was a teacher of all of the Pharisees, one of the top teachers of the Pharisees. Go ahead.
And taught according to the perfect manner of the law of the fathers, and was zealous towards God.
That's what Paul was. Go ahead.
As ye are these days.
Are you these days? So Paul knew. He knew. Why would he? That's what I'm saying. See, you got to really think. He knew where he was going and what his mission was. It was not to teach the whole world. It was not to teach those that was in that country. He knew who he was going. His mission was to go and touch and teach the children of Israel. Okay, that was the key. Those were the Gentiles. Once again, if you look at us today, we're considered as like Gentiles. All right. Let's go to Romans. Let's go to Romans real quick. Romans chapter 11 and verse Romans 11 and read 1 and 5. Now, I'm just like I said, I want to bring out certain scripture that confound me. And I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense about how Paul done his travels. And then I wanted to bring out some maps, man. I really did, but I just didn't have time and didn't know how to do it, because they got, in the back of my Bible, they got Paul's first journey, they got his second journey, and they got his third journey. So Paul was making these rounds all over Asia Minor, right? And he was going and talking, and then more and more people was believing on the gospels of Christ and what was being said. All right, go ahead.
Romans chapter 11, verse 1. I say then, have God cast away his people? God forbid. For I also am an Israelite.
So now, once again, I want to make that clear. He's announcing his nationality. Go ahead.
Of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. God have not cast away his people, which he foreknew. Wot ye not what the scripture said in Elias, how he maketh intercession to God against Israel, saying, Lord, that have killed thy prophets, and dig down thy altars, and I am left alone, and not seek my life.
Right, not seek my life. Go ahead.
But what shall the answer of God unto him? I have reserved to myself 7,000 men, who have not bowed the knee to the image of Baal.
Go ahead.
Even so then, at this present time, also then is a remnant according to the election of grace.
Right. According to the election of grace. So now, once again, the reason I brought this out is because he said that I am an Israelite of the seed of Abraham, of the tribe of Benjamin. Now, other Israelites that was in other countries can also claim that as well once they find out and once they come back to the law, statutes, and commandments, because the Spirit was on them just like the Spirit is on us to come back to these commandments and to come back and serve the Most High, along with understand the prophecies that we're walking through right now. We're waiting for that day of deliverance. Now we understand, our people suffering through slavery. We understand our people coming over on them cargo slave ships. We understand the destruction of Jerusalem during this time of 70 AD. We understand that before the destruction of 70 AD, the captivity was in before then. So the history is coming out to help us to solidify our foundation of who we are. Because once again, like I said, when the ish hit the fan, all of this is going to be needed for an Israelite foundation, period. Bottom line. The other Israelites that's out there, we consider them as the 2/3. Well, they are going to be gobbled up. They're going to be gobbled up. Let's get Jeremiah real quick. Jeremiah chapter 31. Very crucial, very good. We have to solidify that foundation because that's what's going to hold us and keep us. What's it? Jeremiah 31 and verse 35. If I can find it on this daggone screen, gotta get used to this screen. There you go. Jeremiah chapter 31 and start at verse 35, and we're gonna read 35 to 37.
Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 35.
Let me get it real quick. Go ahead.
Thus said the Lord, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinance of the moon of the stars for a light by night.
Now, so we're solidifying that the children of Israel are still here today. So the moon, the sun, go ahead.
Which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar.
Mm-hmm.
The Lord of hosts is his name. If those ordinances depart from before me, thus saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel also shall cease from being a nation before me.
So
forever.
now, here we are. So as the stars, the moon disappeared, then the Most High said, then the children of Israel would decease for being a nation among them. So like I said, we can go out and look at the stars all day, all night. The moon comes out, it performs its duty, its phases as it goes down, as it rises every day. Okay. So those ordinances are still in effect. That means that the children of Israel are still here. Us. Okay. We. Especially those who have understanding coming back to the fold of the commandments. Go ahead.
Verse 37. Thus said the Lord, if heaven above can be measured, and the foundations of the earth search out beneath, I will also cast off all the seed of Israel for all that can for all that they have done, said the Lord.
See, the Most High say, what? If the heavens could be measured, we know that for a fact that they can't be measured. Okay, then he said that the children of Israel would cease from him being a nation. All right. So I'm bringing out certain scripture to let you know that, hey, we're still here. We're still going to uphold these commandments as well. Isaiah chapter 14. Isaiah chapter 14 and verses 1 and 2. More solidifying that the children of Israel is still here.
Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob,
Mm-hmm.
and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land. And the strangers shall be joined with them, and they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
So now it said the stranger. Now we have lessons dealing with the stranger as well, because that's another one that was called. Israel was called heathens at one point in time. Israel was called Gentiles, as well as strangers. When you start understanding the law and get into the law, you understand the strangers that was amongst it. There were some strangers when the children of Israel came out of Egypt, but now those who are not upholding the faith, they will call these other names. And what?
Heifers.
And heifers. He said heifers. I don't know about that one, but they would call these names, okay? Just like today, they would call us all. They would call us all of those names, all three of those names: heathen, Gentiles, strangers. You know, if the true Israelites were in Jerusalem at the time and keeping the faith, okay? Was it? That's it. I wanted it up to 2.
2.
Yeah.
Verse 2. And the people shall take them and bring them to their place, and the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids.
See, these are the other nations that the Heavenly Father said that they will serve the children of Israel. So the other nations, they're going to be saved, but there's a certain point at what role that they're going to play in this new kingdom of Israel. Okay, go ahead.
And they shall take them captives, whom captives they were,
Mm-hmm.
and they shall rule over them, their oppressors.
See, they're oppressors. So that's something to look forward to for us as well as them. Now, mind you, if you coming within righteousness, after what these people are about to see and on this earth, once they see that you are in righteousness, they have no problem serving. Matter of fact, they're gonna be begging to serve. Whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that whatever you want them to do, they're gonna do. But remember, there's a law how we deal with these nations and how we deal with our servants. That's one good thing they have looking forward to, you know, is that we're gonna rule in righteousness. Now, if you get out of hand, we know how to punish you as well. But what our law say is what we're gonna put forth, thus say the Lord. Okay. I did want to bring out like 2 pages of this brother's book. I always like to go in this brother Ra'im's book and read it because he has a section in here about the Gentiles. And I want to just read it real quick, or get Mosh to read it. Let's just say, okay, get Mosh to read it. Yeah, there we go. Start. I want to start here. I wish I could have had it in a PowerPoint. Start there. Yeah.
The prophet Isaiah explained that the Gentile nation will become the eternal servants of the Israelites.
Hold on. So read. Let me go full screen real quick. Something's going on here, and I'm not gonna mess with it. All right, go ahead.
The prophet Isaiah explained that the Gentile nations will become the eternal servants of the Israelites.
Mm-hmm.
This is only a portion of the promises made to Israel since the beginning when the nations were divided. Genesis 11, chapter 5 through 9.
Mm-hmm.
The Gentile nations have refused to serve and worship the Most High, and chose rather to serve and worship the idols and false gods.
And that's what they did. That's what all them other nations, they got the other idols that they serve. If you look at all the other nations that's on the faith, even right now today, just look at them. Ain't nobody want to serve the God of Israel. They rather make an image of themselves for themselves. Even the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, they have a big copper stone where they throw pebbles on, right? Knowing that they understand, if they read the Torah, knowing that it says thou shalt make no graven images, period, right? But here they are, or dealing with idolatry. Okay, go ahead.
Which they made. For this cause, the Most High utterly rejected the generations of the Gentiles and refused to allow them to take part in the covenant and promises given to Israel.
See, now that's read that again, because that's important how the brother put it down. He said, because of their idolatry, is that, and they will not understand the God of Israel, that they will have no portion of the Israelites' kingdom. Go ahead and read it.
The Most High utterly rejected the generations of the Gentiles and refused to allow them to take part in the covenant and promises given to Israel. Psalms 96 and verse 5.
Verse 5, I'm reading. Go ahead and read it.
For all the gods of the nations are idols.
And it's true. Go ahead.
But the Lord made the heavens.
Go ahead and finish reading. Read that in Job.
Job chapter 21 and verse 14.
Let me get there. I'm sorry, hold up 1 minute. Job chapter what?
21 and verse 14.
Oh, damn. Damn. I'm messing up. Give me a minute, y'all. 21, verse 13, 14. Go ahead.
Job chapter 21 and verse 14. Therefore they say unto God, depart from us, for we desire not the knowledge of thy ways.
And that's exactly what they did. That's what they're doing today. Look at the wars that's being taking place right now. Ain't none of them. Like, it's funny because Gerald Salente, he always say, why these people claim to be Christians? Where's the Pope at? Where's the whole Holy Roman Catholic Church? Why are they not stepping in and saying, no, about these wars that they committing and the genocide that they committing over there against these other nations, right? Where are they at? Why are they not playing a role to say, let's put a hold on going to war? Let's sit down at the table and figure this thing out. See, they don't want no part of the Most High God. They, like you said, they rejected what the Heavenly Father who made the heavens and earth. They don't want to hear none of his sayings. Go ahead.
What is the Almighty that we shall serve him?
See, what is the Almighty that we should serve him? Well, they're going to find out. Because why? Because his children is still here. And throughout history, the Most High have always protected his children, even in our captivities, even in our dark hours and dark times. He's always stepped up for the children of Israel. Go ahead.
And what profit shall we have if we pray unto him?
Yeah.
Second Ezra chapter 3 and verse 30.
Read this right here.
Although the nation of Israel was not always obedient to the Most High, they have always had a desire to serve him, unlike the Gentiles. Since the time of Noah up until this day, the Gentile nations have chosen to embrace the images that they have created and to nurture evil. The salvation that the Gentiles have are the salvations that the Gentiles are to receive is very different than the salvation that the promises to the children of Israel. Israel is promised the gift of eternal life, spiritual prosperity, and eternal rulership in the newly cleansed earthly paradise where they will no longer be subject to sin and death. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 10 through 13.
Keep going.
The Gentile nations will go into servitude and will be in subjection to the children of Israel. They will be taught how to properly serve and obey the Most High, or those nations will be utterly destroyed.
Good, well put. Now, the reason I wanted to bring, because the brother put it well put, and that was like, wow, that makes so much. It gives more foundation of what we're reading right now and how we understand who the Gentiles truly are and who Paul was actually talking to. Okay, profound. So let's go to Malachi real quick. Malachi chapter 3 and verse 6. That's all of that. Just had to bring that out because, and I would look, once again, I always plug in my brother's, book, because really good reading and really good. It's real simple to understand and to the point. Okay, Malachi 3 and verse 6.
Malachi 3 and verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore, ye sons of Jacob are not consumed.
So now the Most High, I'm bringing out certain precepts to show you that we're not consumed. We're still here. We're still making an appearance upon this face of this earth, even though we're scattered. But as we can see as well, that other camps are popping up all over this world. All over this world, other camps are popping up. So we are awakening and we are coming to our true understanding of who we are, and we're fulfilling what the prophecy says as well. Okay, let's get Psalms. Disproving more. Psalms chapter 49 and verses 19 and 20. These are old school precepts that I'm bringing out just to solidify, because these were our foundations once we had grasped. Okay, we understand now. We understand who we are. We understand who our people are. So now we have to put the precepts together, right, to solidify, just to give us that solidness that we need. 19 and 20.
Psalms 29.
Hold on, wait a minute. I think it's 48. Where you at? 48. No, I'm sorry. I'm 149. Yeah, 149. 19 and 20. I'm sorry. Psalms 149.
147.
140. I'm sorry, 147. You're right. Damn, I wrote that down wrong. My bad. Let me grab it real quick. Go ahead.
Psalms chapter 147, verse 19. He showed his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He have not dealt so with any nation.
So he has not dealt so with any nation. Go ahead.
And as for his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord.
See, praise ye the Lord. Some of the sound foundations that we use, precepts that we use, and it's true. When he say he has not dealt with no other nation, meaning he has not given the blessings to no other nations. He used the other nations, but he have not given the blessings that he promised the children of Israel. He have not made the covenant the way he made the covenant with the children of Israel. All right. Numbers chapter 23. Numbers chapter 23 and verses 19. Go back to this, go into the law, see what's going on. 23 and verse 19.
Numbers chapter 23 and verse 19. God is not a man that he shall lie, neither the son of man that he shall repent.
Now see how they put in this that God is not a man that he shall not lie. Because there's another doctrine out there that's saying that God is a female. Well, how do you know what it is? Well, the Bible simply told you in the law. Started from the top again.
God is not a man that he shall lie, neither the son of man that he shall repent. Have he said, and shall he not do it? Or have he spoken, and shall he not make it good?
Look at us today. Most High said, if you will disobey these laws, statutes, and commandments, that we will go into captivity. Here we are. Go ahead.
Behold, I have received commandments to bless, and he have blessed, and I cannot reverse it. He have not beheld iniquity in Jacob, neither have he seen perverseness in Israel. The Lord his God is with him, and the shout of a king is among them.
Go ahead.
God brought them out of Egypt, and have as it were the strength of an unicorn.
Go ahead.
Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divinations against Israel.
That's right, because Moses said, if you curse Israel, you shall be cursed. Okay. That's why he said no enchantments against Jacob. Go ahead.
According to this time, it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what have God wrought?
Go ahead.
Behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion, and lift up himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey and drink the blood of the slain.
Absolutely. That's what we got to look forward to, because the Most High still is dealing with his people. Still dealing with people. Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. Said, God is not a man that he shall not lie. He said, that he should. Okay, well, there you go. Verse Hebrews chapter, 13 and 8.
Hebrews chapter 13 and verse 8. Yahweh Shai the same yesterday and today and forever.
And forever. As we can see, and forever. And that's why I say this time we're living in, I'm telling you, Esau is so terrified because they got threats coming from everywhere, man. Every which way they got threats coming. If one fail, then there's another catastrophe coming another way. And he's telling us this all over his TVs. And they study trying to pump the war. Study trying to pump war. Which I don't believe that it's not going to be no World War III as far as like big nuclears. But I think that they're going to be setting loose a lot of dirty bombs, right? To shake, different countries and in different cities to the point where they want the mass chaos, but they don't want like full destruction yet. They want to think that they can be able to cause a big destruction enough to kill enough people, but then they thinking they gonna come back in with AI and their robots and their programs and their digital money and set things back up. But that's not gonna be the case, you know. Not from the scriptures and the prophecies that we read here in these scriptures, though. You know, Esau is our last captivity, period. So of course he's gonna bring out everything under the sink, right, to try to preserve and save himself, and then try to wipe out as many people as he can so he can do a reset and start things back over again. But the Most High said, hey, you know what? That's not going to happen because your time is running short. Okay, so let's get Ephesians real quick. Ephesians chapter 2. Almost done. I just want to make sure I get my scriptures in. Almost done. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11.
Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 11. Wherefore remember that ye being in the time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision.
Right. So he said, remember, in times past you were called Gentiles in the flesh. You see, once again, we're called Gentiles. Not only that, but we overcome that now. That's why we're saying that, okay, well, at one time we were, but now we're coming back to the faith and understanding who we are, our nationality. Go ahead.
By that which is called the circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Christ.
And that's what happened. That's the reason why Paul had to go out and talk and preach to these Israelites, because they was without Christ. Just like at one point in time we were without Christ. Until what? Until the Most High seen it fit to start to call in the children of Israel. And then you get a pamphlet or some literature from a brother, and that's what starts your journey. So it says, start at 12. What was that?
12.
Yeah, go ahead.
That at that time ye were without Christ.
Okay, we without Christ. Go ahead.
Being aliens.
Called aliens as well. Go ahead.
From the commonwealth of Israel, and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world.
And that's exactly right. Now it says without the promise. We just read God is the same today, yesterday. I can't paraphrasing it, but you know, he has not changed. He has not changed. So at one time we were called aliens, we was called uncircumcised, we were called strangers, we was without the promise. All of these things as we was in this Gentile state of mind. All right. Let's go to Hosea real quick. Hosea chapter 1. Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. Hosea 1 and verse 10. I got to get used to this thing. Go ahead, read that.
Hosea chapter 1 and verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. It shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God.
So it says, we are the sons of the living God. One more, Isaiah chapter 43. All inspirational scriptures to actually confirm and give a certain foundation, solid foundation, that who we are and who Paul actually went out to talk to and to preach to. Okay. 43 and verse 5.
Isaiah chapter 43 and verse 5. Fear not, for I am with thee. I will bring thy seed from the east.
Now, both sides saying you fear not. So what we're about to walk through, what we're about to witness is that fear not. Like I said, I truly believe this is calm before the storm, because there's so many things around us that can explode. Go ahead. Verse 5.
Verse 5. From the east and gather thee from the west. I will say to the north, give up, and to the south, keep not back. Bring my sons from far, and my daughters from the ends of the earth.
So that's when the Most High is going to start to gather us, right? And he gathered us with the understanding of who we are. Go ahead.
Even every one that is called by my name, for I have created him for my glory. I have formed him. I have made him. Bring forth the blind people.
That's it.
Oh.
So he said he has what? For I have created him for my glory. And that's what we are, Israel. We was created for the most high glory. And like he said, he changes not. So all what we're gonna deal with, and all that we have dealt with, right, has been prophesied to a point where we at where we at now to solidify that when that doctrine come up and they say, no, you a Gentile, then hopefully you wrote down some of these scriptures that and go back and just start searching out certain cities that Paul actually journeyed to. As a matter of fact, they always tell you and give you a map on the circulation of what Paul was actually going and who he was dealing with. Okay, what's your piece up?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 30 and verse 3.
Deuteronomy 30 and 3. Let me get there. Go ahead.
That then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee.
Right. So now the compassion, that's what we're looking for. Our captivity has already been turned. Once we come into the understanding of who we are, that's the whole nutshell about it. So the captivity has been turned. Go ahead.
And will return and gather thee from all the nations, whether the Lord thy God have scattered thee.
Where he has scattered us.
If any of thy be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will the Lord thy God gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee.
And this would he shall fetch thee. Read number 5.
Verse 5. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers.
Multiply thy fathers. So these are the promises that we're looking forward to, Israel. And and then from there, like I said, once we come back and understand who we are, always implement these laws and commandments in your walk. Always. Because that's the key and the foundation of life. So with that, I say shalom. And something's going on here.